And a sound room where you can go play music.
All right, you ready?
Let's do it.
You was born ready, weren't you? False. That was a false alarm. Sorry for the false alarm. Welcome to the Fairview Social podcast. We are on episode 3 of The President's Project.
Exciting.
Got Mike Riley over here.
Thanks for having me back.
Throwing it down on the mic. And it's been fun. So today we are going to be talking about Thomas Jefferson. But to recap, last time we talked about John Adams. And we were discussing this, that I really didn't know anything about John Adams.
No.
Other than he was the second president.
Right.
And I usually am good for like the first 3 or 4 presidents I can name, and then I don't know anymore.
I think at the end of the George Washington episode, I asked you who the second president was. I didn't even know it.
Yeah, well, that can happen. And I did want to say that after the John Adams episode, we kind of had a guest visitor, if you know what I'm saying.
It was nice to see him.
John Adams
So good to see him.
visited us. Look, he even had the podcast microphone. I said, hey, could you grab that podcast microphone just so that people will believe that you were really with us?
I know. He's got to work on that angle of the microphone, though. So he's...
Yeah. He's kind
We'll
of
talk to him about
he's a short fella.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm pretty short. He's even shorter than me.
Yeah.
Now, I'm pretty short. I'm short and you're tall.
Yeah.
And he's shorter than me.
Yeah.
So... he's a little plump ass walking around,
Rotundity.
president in the country and all that. So
it doesn't matter what shape, size, height, width you are. I mean, you can be president if you want.
You can be anything that you want to be.
We know he inherited the presidency. Maybe if there was a vote, he might not have gotten it because he was so.
Yeah. So he inherited the presidency. He was the first president to live in the White House, which we learned that wasn't that much fun.
No.
Didn't sound like actually, they probably didn't really even care back then because that's how they were living anyway.
That's true. That's very true.
It's not like they were like, well, we need to have electricity in
Frontier's life probably. You're right.
So it probably wasn't like, oh, this sucks. I'd expected a lot more. I think that from our standards today, it probably sucked.
Yeah.
But anyway, so John...
Get you thinking of what we've all seen of the White House.
Yeah.
That this is the guy that started it all.
Yes.
First guy in there.
So after John Adams comes Thomas Jefferson, which I think that people generally know a little bit more about him. So what's the first thing that you think of when you think of Thomas Jefferson?
Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness.
Yes, that's true.
At the Declaration of Independence. I have a hard time saying that.
We'll talk about this more in a second, but I was really into... I listened to Glenn Beck for a long time when I was younger.
Yeah.
Listened to his show on AM radio. He's still podcasting and doing all that stuff, and he still has his show, but he's a real big history buff. And I remember this was probably... 15 to 18 years ago, I was listening to him, and he was talking about the Declaration of Independence, and in that particular line, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness was originally life, liberty, and property.
Correct. John Locke.
Yeah, and it was changed because of the slave situation. At least some people think it was.
Very interesting.
They didn't want to say property because then that meant slaves. Yeah. That somehow maybe foreshadowing on down the line where slavery was abolished, but it was originally supposed to be life, liberty, and property.
Right, but that's again wonderful segue. They said that Jefferson governed in a way that stretched his own constitutional beliefs.
Yeah,
someone who had slaves. Again, we go. George Washington, who had slaves. John Adams
did not.
And And now we're back to an individual that did.
We can talk about the slaves here for a second before we get into a lot of this, but on down here in the notes, it says that he had over 600 slaves.
I know.
I don't have 600 of anything.
No.
And he has 600 people
Yeah.
that he owned.
Yeah.
Which is just, it's mind-boggling to me.
I can't even comprehend it either.
Yeah. But anyway, we'll talk about that more in a second. So Thomas Jefferson, the introduction here is he's both the poet of American liberty and one of its deepest contradictions.
Yep.
He wrote the Declaration of Independence.
Yeah, fascinating that you kind of brought that. I mean, we read that he took the drafts and drawings from a English philosopher and physician who, you said it, main theory was life, liberty, and property.
Yeah.
Right. So, kind of note that I had that he changed it to life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. The three inalienable rights, I can't even say it.
We knew
more
what you
than
meant. I wasn't going
you.
to correct you.
I appreciate that.
Then I was going to mess it up. Too.
I appreciate that. It was
inalienable.
Right. More than just the happiness was more than just property, but the pursuit of happiness, a meaningful life, which kind of contradicts his own beliefs and what he lived with the 600 slaves.
But it's just like we talked about before, just knowing how smart these guys were and how, before their time that they were to he didn't even believe in that, but he knew that it was maybe God led him to put that in and change it or whatever.
Well, we've got the progression, and again, a lot of this progression was because of Thomas Jefferson and what he saw as growing the country. Is we start up in Massachusetts, to an individual now who lives in Virginia.
Yeah.
If you're growing in, we just know that, if you want to get to Bellevue, you go down Highway 100 or 96 or Route 40 and it's there, already developed, right? So maybe, and probably why he had owned 600 slaves is to kind of start developing that land.
Yeah, that's
So
true.
you need to have it.
I mean, I think that probably slaves, enslaved people, and workers are all kind of entangled. Because most of the time, the enslaved people were, working on these plantations and doing all these things. So let's see what else. Jefferson isn't simple. He's layered, ambitious, brilliant, and often inconsistent.
Yeah, sure.
So he was here's the things that he's known for. Which obviously, like you said, the thing that he's known most for is he's the author of the Declaration of Independence.
Right.
He drafted it at the age of 33.
Unbelievable.
I'm thinking about myself at 33, and I remember thinking that I couldn't get my life in order at 33. I mean, hell, I'm almost 45, and I still feel like I can't get my life in order.
Fair.
But I feel like I'm in a little bit better of a situation than I was 10 years ago. But could you imagine writing such a document like this, basically founding a country at the age of 33?
No, not at all. What times are different, right? We know that John Adams lived to 90, which was kind of unheard of then. 33, is 50 the new 33?
Possibly.
Maturity, maturity is probably not the right word, but
I
life was a lot harder.
Yeah.
So you're worn. 33 probably equates to.
Yeah. I mean, you get all of those years of wisdom when you're out there roughing it.
Right.
You're in the middle of war. You're doing, you're trying to build a country. You're doing all that. And so 33 is probably the equivalent of a 50 to 55-year-old person.
So I'm saying that just so we don't feel as bad as we do, because at 33, like you, I mean, I had some kids, but I wasn't doing too much.
Yeah. So in the election of 1800, as we talked about with John Adams in the previous episode, the election between Jefferson and Adams was bitter and highly partisan.
Yeah.
The tie between Jefferson and Aaron Burr sent the decision to the House of Representatives. After intense negotiation, Jefferson prevailed, making the first peaceful transfer of power between rival parties.
Yeah.
And I want to emphasize that again, that, this was not the norm for back then. What would have kept John Adams from just being like, no,
Yeah.
no, I'm going to keep doing this.
Right. This is the law. I'm making this the law.
Now it's like, can you imagine it now? Like, if I know that Trump just tweaks people all the time saying that he's going to do it again, but could you imagine? I mean, he lost the election before in 21 or 20 or whatever it was. And he raised a bunch of hell about it and complained and said all the things, but he transferred power peacefully, you know, and could you imagine if somebody did it now? They would have lawyers come in. Oh, I'm going to get my lawyer and remove you and blah, blah, blah.
Agree. But again, Adams' philosophy didn't want to be a monarchy, right?
Yeah.
Knew that this was a gentleman that followed law and believed in the law, and that was the law. And, you know, there was no reason to fight it. That's what happened. And why make it any more difficult?
Yeah. All right, so another thing that he's most known for, which, as we talked about before, we were talking about the first colonies with the first two presidents, and now we're kind of getting into the Louisiana Purchase, which happened in 1803.
Yeah. This is where it really got fascinating because, you know, Thomas Jefferson was an individual that had the vision of growth and expanding the nation's territory.
Yeah.
Beyond imagination at the time. I mean, it's, again...
Well, hell, it was just that little 13
colonies.
13 colonies, and then all of a sudden, like, all of the, I should have probably pulled up a map, but people know the Louisiana Purchase. You can look at a map and see how much it did. And for those of you that don't know, that cost $15 million.
Yeah.
I don't think that you could buy a piece of land in Nashville and build a business for $15 million.
No. And, you know, we'll tie it back, and maybe we can circle back to that number at the end when we learn a little bit something about TJ. I mean, today's time, that's $1 billion.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
You know?
Probably more than that.
Probably more than that.
For as much land as that is.
Sure.
It says that he authorized the $15 million purchase of the French territory, and it doubled the size of the nation.
Mm-hmm.
He struggled constitutionally. There was no clear authority for buying land, but chose opportunity over strict interpretation.
Yeah.
And the purchase ensured control of the Mississippi River that accelerated westward expansion. And so, you know, we talk about in today's politics, talking about Greenland, you know, everybody hears the Greenland stuff, and they, you know, we're talking about Venezuela and all of these things. And I think that it's important to highlight the fact that, you know, having these waterways and these different are strategic investments. You know, he wanted to control the Mississippi River and the westward expansion. So I think it's important that people don't forget that, you know, sometimes we need these things for security and that kind of stuff.
Oh, absolutely. Commerce, all of it. I mean, you need to get to Pittsburgh to get to the Ohio River. The Monongahela and the Allegheny form the Ohio River, which the Ohio River takes you to the Mississippi. So you need these waterways.
But think about it back then.
Moving.
Now we have airplanes and all that kind of stuff that can do all that. But think about it. I'm sure we'll get into it more as we progress into the, you know, the growing of the nation. But, you know, using the boats to ship things, to get things places, building railroads and all of these things, like that was very important. It's like probably not as necessary anymore. We still use all of that stuff, but we have more, better technology of getting things places now.
There's still a reason why we have them.
Yeah.
Ease of movement. Right now it's, you know, ships got to go through locks to move, you know, a little bit, but, you know, there's a reason those things have worked for so long.
Yeah.
And they worked as the part of the expansion, you know, for waterways, utilizing waterways for the expansion to grow the country.
Yeah. All right. So the next thing he's known for is the Lewis and Clark expedition.
Which is awesome.
So for those of you that don't know, Jefferson commissioned Meriwether, Lewis, and William Clark to explore the Western Territory. The expedition cataloged geography, wildlife, native nation, and the native nations across the continent. It reflected Jefferson's scientific curiosity and expansionist ambition.
Yeah.
So picture this, that I'm sure that people were going out west and looking at things, but this was like the first time that it was like the president's being like, hey, go see what's going on out there.
Fun fact, Meriwether Lewis is buried in Hohenwald, right off the Natchez Trace.
Oh, is he really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Fun little fact.
Maybe I knew that. Maybe I didn't.
Yeah.
That's pretty awesome.
Maybe we find Daniel Hawes and bring back Historical Fridays and go see it.
Maybe we should. But it's just cool to see that, like, this was important. This was important to him.
Yeah.
And it's like expanding the country. It's like all of these presidents don't settle for little.
No, right.
Go out and get more, do more, be bigger.
Yeah.
Let's expand this thing, because it's like they could just stay there in the 13 colonies.
Absolutely.
We'll have ourselves a little country.
Absolutely. I've started a book on tape because I can't sit there and read it, but as I'm going around, it's called The Frontiersman.
Mm-hmm.
And it follows the writings, because we've learned that a lot of this comes from the writings that have been kept of these individuals, about a gentleman that right outside of Pittsburgh at Fort Pitt starts navigating his way west. And at the point of the book I'm in, he's right out of what would have been now Lexington, Kentucky.
Huh.
So, but it was just a completely different world, crossing the Ohio River, which in Cincinnati, and following these rivers that you can drive over and see.
Yeah.
To think that these guys,
it's not
Lewis and Clark.
It's not like jump in your car and go do it.
Right.
It's like this is like
Not knowing where you're going.
And also that you got the Native Americans
Right.
that are that are out there. It's like they're going into. It's not even like going into battle. It's going into like the unknown.
Right.
And there's like very little protection.
Sure.
They're probably out there on their horses and had supplies.
I mean, think about getting on the Cumberland River somewhere in the middle of Tennessee and just trusting that you're going to end up somewhere.
Yeah.
Right? You don't know what you're going to run into. Who knows what you're going to see?
Do you think that they had Google Maps back then?
Could have.
Maybe they just be like,
It was probably TomTom Go back then.
They like, hey TJ, my TomTom Go says,
Will you renew my subscription? No, they probably had AAA. They had triptychs.
yeah. All right, so the next thing, the Virginia Statute for Religious Freedom.
Yeah.
Jefferson authored the statute in 1786, separating church and state in Virginia. It directly influenced first American principles. He considered this one of his proudest achievements.
Sure.
And a lot of this stuff you hear, when you hear people now say, oh, you can't talk about that because of, the church and state, separation of church and state and all that. Well, that was because of him, which I don't disagree with him. I'm a believer, and I know that this country was founded on these beliefs, but I think that it's wonderful that you have someone that's not a believer. You got to have
Absolutely.
You got to have all the different people contributing.
Makes the world go round.
And so if this wasn't in place, what would things look like now? It's like we've talked about. Every little piece of this matters.
Sure.
Every single bit of it.
Sure.
He was the founder of the Democratic Republican Party. Jefferson helped organize opposition to Federalist policies, advocating states' rights. His party challenged central financial systems championed by Hamilton.
Yeah.
This rivalry formed America's first true party divide.
Yep.
Which we talked about in the last episode. That we were you're starting to see the people split, and these are the Federalists and these are the Democratic Republicans. So Jefferson was the founder of that.
Right.
Reduction of federal spending. Jefferson cut military budgets and reduced national debt early in his presidency. Yeah. He believed fiscal restraint protected liberty. His approach contrasted sharply with Federalist centralization.
Yeah.
Now, I'm all for cutting budgets, but you don't want to cut your military.
No,
budget.
gosh, no. And it's interesting that he does this on the government side and lives a life where he was severely in debt.
Yeah. Yeah.
So again, going back to what we started on, that, what he wrote and governed is not what he believed in his own personal life.
Yeah. Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy to think that it's the next one here is the Embargo Act in 1807. Attempting to avoid war with Britain and France, Jefferson halted American exports. The embargo severely damaged American commerce.
Right.
It became one of his most unpopular policies.
Threw the country into depression, it said here. And thankfully repealed just 2 years later because, we would have gotten so bad that we would have probably ended up being taken over.
Yeah.
Because it was so bad that it was not a place people would want to live.
Yeah. The next thing he was known for is the Monticello.
Yeah.
Jefferson designed his Virginia estate based on classical architecture. Monticello reflected Enlightenment ideals and aesthetic sophistication. It was also sustained by enslaved labor.
There you go. That's the conversation we're having.
Yeah.
Had to have that many people to kind of, again, we're moving into a new part of the world to keep it up.
Yeah.
600 people, 600 slaves.
Yeah, it's crazy.
A big area.
And I also looked this up too, that the Monticello is about 2.5 hour drive from Mount Vernon.
Right.
So when I go out there, I'm probably going to hit both of them.
Well, right. I think you drive, if you're driving, right, you'll go through Monticello first.
Yeah.
Because you got to go past the University of Virginia.
Yeah.
So it's right there. It's right there.
So the last thing here that he was, as far as the known things, is, just his legacy of liberty and expansion. Jefferson's presidency expanded both American territory and democratic rhetoric. He left behind ideological blueprint for liberty, even as the nation struggled to live up to it.
Yeah. Life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. But he had slaves working for him. You're my people.
I know.
That balance of finding a meaningful, happy life.
Do as I say.
Right.
Not as I do.
That's right. But again, you have to think bigger picture. This individual was a visionary.
Yeah.
Was in an area that wasn't as developed. Needed to have this to work on the development, but knew that if this country wanted to grow, that you had to get people involved. You had to get people thinking that, okay, these leaders want me to be going after new areas and not just property, but this is a meaningful life for me to get out of these 13 colonies.
Yeah.
And it's okay to go to what now is Pittsburgh and forms little cities around Fort Pitt.
Yeah.
And then take it down the Ohio River and, south.
So moving into the next section, the lesser known things about President Jefferson here is he sold his personal library.
This was interesting.
To found the Library of Congress.
Yeah.
So after the British burned Washington in 1814, Jefferson sold over 6,000 books to rebuild the Library of Congress.
I don't think I've seen 6,000 books in my in my life.
I know. I mean, think of that. That's just crazy. These guys are reading. And
what are these books about?
Probably.
How long are they?
Philosophy and all.
Maybe.
They're smarter than us. So I'm sure it's something smart.
Yeah.
All right. So he was fluent in French and the lover of European culture.
Yeah.
Jefferson spent years in France as a diplomat and absorbed European art, cuisine, and design.
Right.
He introduced foods like macaroni and ice cream to American elite circles.
Thank you.
So yes, thank you, Mr. President. Appreciate that. He was a passionate amateur scientist.
Yeah. This is interesting because this kind of ties back to what we do in real life here on the agricultural side.
Yeah, he studied agriculture, architecture, and paleontology.
Yeah.
He corresponded with leading thinkers and experimented constantly at the Monticello. Science was not a hobby; it was his central worldview. I think that was probably one of the most surprising things. I did not realize that he was into that stuff.
Yeah.
I just thought he was into banging slaves, and writing the Declaration of Independence. I thought that's what he was doing.
That's hilarious.
All right, he was a secretive political strategist.
Yeah.
Jefferson publicly criticized factionalism but privately organized party opposition. He used newspapers and allies to attack Federalist policies, and his politics were more tactical than his rhetoric suggested.
Right.
So what I thought was interesting about this is I think that this is kind of where we start seeing where, you have the freedom of press, and they're like, okay, well, even in the very beginning, we're 3 presidents in, and they're already manipulating it.
Well, we saw it on John Adams. I mean, John Adams and Jefferson did it to each other.
Yeah, they're like, hey,
he just continued it on.
They're like, hey, I'm going to use this. I'm going to use the press to my advantage.
It's my power. I've got the power to do so. I'm going to do it. I mean, it's again, we said it at the end of the last podcast we did that you needed George Washington to get to John Adams. You needed John Adams to get to TJ here. So, I mean, it makes a lot of sense that this is a strategy that he used because he had it done against him too.
They do that, but then they have like the Sedition Act where they're just where they're saying you can't talk bad about us. So
again, do as I say, not what does I do.
It's just funny because no matter how much you think it's crazy, that's what I'm learning. I think a lot is that it was just so crazy then too.
Yeah.
But it's just like we just get the information so quickly now.
Sure.
It's like immediately when something happens. Yeah. Think about all of these things that we're talking about here. It's like it take you a week or two to even know.
Exactly right.
He was deeply skeptical of standing armies. Jefferson believed large armies threatened liberty. He preferred militias and limited military presence, yet expansion and frontier conflict complicated this ideal.
Yeah, and I was conflicted with this because in my mind, I would think you need militias to be quickly moving through, and taking down Indians that were inhabiting areas to expand.
Seeing what they're coming from though with the British Army, the Redcoats.
The Redcoats, sure.
It's like seeing that you would think that he would know that I know what we're up against and what could be out west. It's like you would think that he would be all for a bigger military.
Maybe. Again, we these guys don't know. We don't know. You cross a river and it's a whole different area.
But I think that his thinking on it is that you don't want, because it needs to be we the people are in charge of this country, because they believe that the government is, you want as little government as possible in it. Yeah. And so he thought hey, if you're building up this big army, then he's just saying he preferred militias and limited military presence. So he's like, hey, I got this group of people that are going to do this particular mission or whatever, as opposed to flexing the power of a big military.
Right. Well, you didn't know who you were to fight. So, to me, you needed these militias to quickly navigate areas, take down people, and claim as yours.
Yeah. His personal financial mismanagement, we talked about that for a second.
Yeah.
Despite his intellectual brilliance, Jefferson struggled financially. Monticello required constant borrowing and management. And
so
he died heavily in debt.
I did a little chat GPT on this.
Oh, okay.
At death, he was $107,000 in debt.
What's that in today's money?
$3.5 million.
Oh, wow.
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's pretty crazy.
That's wild, right?
Isn't it funny, though, because this guy's brilliant. But he can't manage his finances.
So what I should have done was taken that $15 million for the Louisiana Purchase and equated that what it would cost today. Maybe we'll circle back as we start the next one, and I'll inform the listeners.
Yeah. Little known fact, which it's more known if you listen to the last episode, his relationship with John Adams. Jefferson and Adams were allies, then rivals, then correspondents later in life. Their letters reveal philosophical debate and personal reconciliation. And so
it's nice to know.
Yeah, that's really cool. I think it's kind of like the idea that we talked about before, the President's Club. These guys, when they leave office and they go back to, and I don't know how, so he died in 1826. So he got out of office, and what's he doing afterwards? It's like, I'm sure that they need something to stimulate their thought. And so they're talking to each other about, different points of view and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So, but it's sad because it's hard to, in today's climate, it's like, can that happen?
No.
But, we say no,
maybe,
but then I was
we
were talking about Obama and
right,
Bush
correct.
and Bush and Clinton.
But though, we talked about it, yes, but now kind of thinking, and as I had some time to think after our last podcast, is that show at a funeral, at a dinner, is it just politics to make yourself look?
It probably is.
You know,
I mean, I can't imagine that George W. is like calling up Barack, each week. Hey, Barack, how's Michelle and the kids?
No, there's absolutely no way. I think that ties to kind of, again, that mindset you have to be a president is.
Yeah.
Now it's all for show.
Yeah.
I want to be perceived as a nice person.
Yeah.
As a person that's partisan. But you go behind the scenes, they don't want any of those people's views. There's a reason you're a Republican. There's a reason you're a Democrat.
Yeah. He was a reluctant public speaker, which I get that. Jefferson preferred written communication to speeches. His inaugural address aimed to calm partisan tensions. He believed rhetoric should reduce division, not inflame it. And so I just kind of picture him as like, obviously, we know he's a writer.
Yeah.
He's a hell of a writer. He's very smart. He had 6,000 books that he sold, so he's always reading. And do you think that he had a problem? Because I don't think we got much in this particular document that I made here of like, was he good at public speaking and all that kind of stuff?
Yeah, I think this was interesting. My little side note was that, no way that this works today.
Yeah, that's true.
There's almost too much talking, and maybe that's one thing that would never happen, but maybe it should to presidents should revisit that.
The thing is, though, is like right now, for so many years, like presidents get on TV or radio back then and did that. Like, if you think about it, the only time that he would be public speaking is if he was in a town,
right? And
he's speaking. Otherwise, people are just reading the print.
That's very true
of what he said.
That's very true. Did they have newspapers back then? I think they did.
I was gonna say something like that, but I was like, I don't need to pour the dumb on because I already feel stupid with all this.
I'm going to do two things: look at the printing press and purchase amount.
Yeah,
and printing presses.
He was also an innovator in architecture and design.
Yeah.
Jefferson sketched buildings, furniture, and layouts personally. His architectural influence extended to the Capitol and the UVA.
Yeah. Fascinating. Really fascinating. I might note there, the fun fact, the University of Virginia was founded in 1819. So, I mean, to be that worldly, to be able to be a writer, you think, okay, this individual is a good writer, probably not good at, art and design.
Yeah.
This person's good at art and design. Brain doesn't work. I mean, it's left brain versus right brain, right? Kind of stuff.
Yeah.
The individual was able to do both. Mm-hmm. And do it pretty darn well.
It just goes to show you that these people were put here. It's like all of them, all of this chain of events,
Yeah.
All right, let's get into scandals and controversies. We know TJ's got plenty of those.
Dirty
all right.
dog.
So we talked about this a second ago a little bit. Ownership of enslaved people. It says that he owned over 600 slaves during his lifetime, despite criticizing slavery rhetorically. He freed very few. This contradiction defines much of his legacy.
Sure. Yeah. Life, living in pursuit of happiness.
Yeah. But I got my 600 slaves.
Yeah, but you're mine.
But you're mine. The next one goes right along with it is his relationship with Sally Hemings.
Yeah.
For those of you that don't know who Sally Hemings is he was one of Thomas Jefferson, or she was one of Thomas Jefferson's enslaved people.
Yeah.
And it says that DNA evidence supports that Jefferson fathered children with Sally Hemings. Hemings was enslaved at Monticello, and the relationship remains one of the most debated aspects of his life.
Sure.
So he's got a couple kids from Sally Hemings.
Isn't it fascinating that we know the writings, but again, you don't hear much of her. We should.
Yeah.
But it's just amazing that we know, or to be able to, the DNA evidence.
Well, let me ask you this. Do you think that Sally Hemings was sleeping with him in somewhat of somehow a relationship with him in hopes of getting freed as a slave, or do you think that she actually liked and or loved him?
Yeah, that's a great question.
Because I don't and I don't know for sure.
Yeah.
I don't know how all this stuff plays out, but from what I understand from the Hermitage, whenever I visit that, I don't think that Jackson, at least, was mistreating these people.
Yeah, that's what I've understood too.
And I don't know if it's common that like people were getting beaten and all this kind of stuff, or if it was like, hey, you're just a person that
you have to, and I don't know.
Again, well, if any historians are listening to this, they're probably going to yell at me.
I mean, for sure. But again, if you're owning 600 people,
yeah,
do you care about them?
Yeah,
You're mine. You're going to do what I tell you to do. So she probably thought.
You think she was trying to run a little game on him?
Maybe.
Trying to pull one over on him? Maybe get like a good job there?
Yeah.
Or
move from.
Well, she got knocked up by
out in the fields to in the house. Who knows?
She got knocked up by him twice. Does that mean that she just got to hang out and not have to do as much work? She got knocked up. I mean, it's worth considering.
Yeah, no, for sure.
That's all I'm saying. All right, his failure to act decisively against slavery. Jefferson condemned slavery in theory, but did not dismantle it in practice because. Do what I say,
right,
and not what I do.
It's unbelievable.
He supported gradual approaches rather than immediate abolition, which I think goes back to what we were talking about to begin with, that maybe he did truly believe how it was originally life, liberty, and property, and did change that because it says that he wanted to gradual approach. Because I think I've read this before that no president could go in there and just say, no, you're not doing this anymore. Because look what happened when they said, we're not going to have alcohol anymore.
Yeah.
It's like in prohibition, or if you take something away that people have that they're accustomed to.
Sure.
So maybe that was his intention. But you would think that like for him, he would be like, well, I'm not going to have any slaves.
Well, that's interesting. I get to think, you think of property, right? Right off the bat, you think property of something tangible, right? A house.
Yeah.
Land.
An object.
An object.
Yeah.
But to these individual, property was their slaves.
Yeah.
So he followed the philosopher John Locke, who life, liberty, and property. That's what his beliefs were. When he writes the Declaration of Independence, he's in there with a group of individuals, right? John Adams is probably in that group who didn't have slaves. So to write this document, it was probably voted on and discussed that we have to take it away from being property.
Yeah.
In the pursuit of happiness.
Yeah, it might have been other
so
people.
It's interesting to say, well, he didn't follow his own writings. It's a group that's writing that.
Yeah.
So yes, he put it on paper, didn't do it.
So this is what's funny. You know how long the Declaration of Independence is? He writes it all out. He sits there, maybe has a few bourbons or something, and he's 33-year-old man, and he's like, and it takes him like a week to write it out, and I don't want to mess up.
Right.
And then he takes it to the group, and they're like, hey, man, you need to...
We're going to let me redline this.
Let me redline this. And it's like the first sentence. They're like, we need you to redo this.
Dude, what are you doing here, TJ? Come on, bring it in.
You're like, come on, man, you need to redo this.
Get your pen out here. Get your what did they call those little
his quill.
His quill. Get your quill over here. We're gonna make some changes.
Yeah. So that's all. Like he'd have to go home and redo the whole damn thing.
John Hancock's like, man, your grammar's awful here.
All right. So the Native American displacement policies.
Yeah.
Jefferson promoted assimilation and westward relocation. Expansion placed pressure on tribal lands, and his policies laid groundwork for future removal. So I don't think that he was popular with that group.
Nope.
They probably didn't want him moving out westward.
No. But you didn't know what you're going to run into.
I'm pretty sure they probably knew kind of what they're going to run
That's
into.
probably true, but where you're going to run into them, or who you're going to do, or the volume or size of so.
It'd be interesting. Maybe I need to do a little research on Lewis and Clark just to kind of see what their stories are of the different things that they ran into as they were.
Well, they had to take on. They were Sacagawea, right? They took on Sacagawea. Right?
Oh yeah.
So you take on her to help navigate getting around certain tribes.
Yeah.
So
They're like, she's like, they cool there with me.
yeah, right. But again, smart individuals knowing that, okay, I need you to help me help you
Yeah.
to expand and get across the country. Didn't they make it all the way to the West Coast?
I don't know.
God, we're not smart.
But you know what? I promise
they
you,
did.
at least 10 of the 19 listeners probably don't know either. Yeah. At least 10, if not all 19.
I am pretty certain that they made it all the way to the Pacific Northwest.
All right, his political smear campaigns. The 1800 election featured attacks labeling Jefferson as an atheist radical. Mm-hmm. All right, so you got John Adams. John Adams telling him, well, Thomas Jefferson's an atheist radical. And then Thomas Jefferson is saying, well, look at Mr. Monarchy over here.
Yeah.
He wants to have he wants to be king.
Right.
That's the kind of shit throwing that they're doing against each other.
He needed to get away from what Hamilton wanted to do and bring the banks back to Central.
See, and it says right here, Federalist Papers portrayed him as dangerous, and we learned in the John Adams episode that John Adams was pushing that.
That's right.
With John, and so
a narrative.
Partisan politics really reached new intensity. so, look, hey, listeners, what you see out there going on today has been going on for 250 years.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Get used to it. It's going to go on for another 250 years.
Constitutional flexibility on Louisiana. Jefferson stretched his strict interpretation of the Constitution.
Yeah.
He justified expansion as necessary despite earlier objections to federal power. And this shift exposed pragmatic inconsistency.
Yeah, he was an interesting. We've said it. Do as I say, not as I do.
Yeah.
Kind of views on life.
But it would be interesting to know what was the vision for this? Were we just supposed to stay the colonies, or was George Washington like, hey, you need to go and, hey, let's see what's going on out west?
Sure. I mean, George Washington made it over to Fort Pitt. You have another person that just saw we need to be growing.
Yeah.
There's land out there that we don't know that we have to stay clean.
It's like running a business. It's
exactly
like
right.
The idea of running, and same with your life. Mm-hmm. With your life is you don't stand still. Don't be stagnant.
That's right.
Be bigger, be more,
That's right.
Do more. When you're building a company, you start the business and you grow the hell out of it, and then you sell it.
That's right.
You start another one, and so you think
or
about
you expand.
it.
You open a shop in this area. You open a branch here.
And so that's probably his vision. For all we know, and again, we are ignorant and don't know, and maybe Washington and John Adams already had a plan for all this, but maybe in Jefferson's mind is like, hey, we need to grow this thing.
Yeah, I think it's fascinating they do. I mean, this is your individual that really pushed moving west.
Yeah,
let's get out of the Pacific, get out of the Northeast, and let's see what's out there. He was a man of science, so he knew that there was going to be different agriculture out there to grow different types of crops.
Yeah,
different food, game, and stuff like that too. So I mean, it's not just didn't have to be what we've known for up until these times.
Yeah, we already talked a little bit about debt at his death.
Yeah,
his estate was sold to cover his debts. And so financial mismanagement contrasts with intellectual precision.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, I really do get that, because it's like you said a minute ago, it's like you got people that are left-brained and right-brained. And, example at work for me and work for you, it's like I would have no idea how to do your thing. And you're like, oh, it's easy. You just do this. I'm
right.
like, I don't know what you're talking about.
Sure.
And probably with Jefferson, he put the focus and the things that he was passionate about above, like, knowing how to manage his finances.
Exactly. But, just like what we do at work, if I don't know something, I know who to ask.
Yeah.
These guys knew who to ask to. You have your president, president of a company, president of a country. I mean, and all it stops with him. You know, that's the person we're working to. But the people around you, you surround yourself with smart people.
Yeah. Well, it didn't go well. It didn't go over too well for him.
No. But again, you know that as we kind of progress down to the weird and human realties, the fact that these guys knew that they had to write
Yeah.
to make sure that what they were saying was going to shape history down the road.
Well, they're just mindful of it.
Yeah.
It was always on the forefront of their mind.
Yeah.
His elite lifestyle versus his, how do you say that word? Agrarian, which means like farmer type stuff.
That's right.
So Jefferson championed simple farmers, yet lived as a wealthy plantation owner. His lifestyle reflected privilege and education, and that tension fueled criticism from opponents, which that's understandable.
Absolutely.
He's out there and like, he's probably like, I'm a farmer just like you guys. But then he's like living on the high horse at Monticello with his 600 slaves, nailing one of them at least, old Sally Hemings or whatever her name was. Press manipulation.
Yeah.
Jefferson quietly supported partisan newspaper attacking Federalists. He understood media influence long before modern campaign strategy.
Fascinating.
His political innocence was largely strategic theater, as was John Adams.
That's right.
They were just doing it to each other.
They knew what to say to get the message across,
We're
or
doing-
what people wanted to hear.
We're doing that same stuff now.
Yeah.
You know, I was watching the news the other day, and and AOC was out there in whatever other country.
In Germany.
In Germany.
Munich, yeah.
Sounded dumb. Came back home. She said she couldn't answer a question or something. She comes back home, goes to the New York Times, and says, "Hey, this is why this was going on."
Right.
And so the New York Times runs the shit. It's like that's happening now.
Yeah.
It's just now. It's just like call them up real quick.
Yeah. And we know that is just kind of calling it politics. That's what these people do.
Yeah.
That's what these people do.
All right. So weird things that you may not know about Thomas Jefferson.
Mm-hmm.
He was a meticulous record keeper.
Yeah.
Which for us is wonderful
Absolutely.
because we get to know all about those things.
Right. He tracked the weather, crops in Correspondence Daily. Again, did the Farmer's Almanac come from
I don't know. Could
some of
be.
these writings?
Possibly. Jefferson tracked weather, crops, and Correspondence Daily. He documented scientific observations for decades, and his records provide historians enormous insight.
Yeah.
You know, if these people, because apparently John Adams was the same way. I mean, we were talking about John Adams, how he was the most, he was the president that recorded the most stuff. You know, had the most, documents and notes, diary, whatever you want to call it. But yeah, imagine if they were not documenting these things, we just wouldn't know anything about them.
No.
When you're trying to put the puzzle together.
No. That book, that I'm listening to it's all written accounts.
Yeah.
And they've pieced them together.
He was an inventor and a tinkerer. He modified
Renaissance.
plows and created small mechanical improvements. Innovation fascinated him, and he treated experimentation as a daily routine.
Yeah.
It's like I feel so dumb because I come home I come home from work and I'm like, I'm just gonna sit here and watch TV.
I thought I was just thinking the same exact thing. I'm like, how many hours are in these guys' days?
Yeah, it's like he goes and I'm thinking like before, well, even after all of this, before he died, and well, probably even through his childhood, they're going and they're like, maybe he goes to work, or he goes to work as the president. He's like going to work as the president, and he's like, I'm going to get home so I can finish working on this invention that I'm working on.
I'm working on this plow. I got to finish this plow. It's
it's like I'm so useless. Like
I know.
It's like I can't even, like, here in Hollywood Studios, I've got a pile of stuff that I finally swept.
Yeah,
but I haven't like bent over
there.
to pick it up. And this guy's like the president of the United States.
He's gardening,
nailing slaves. He's just like doing all the things.
tracking weather.
Yeah. He loved gardening experiments.
Yeah.
Jefferson cultivated diverse plants in Monticello. He tested agriculture techniques constantly. Gardening was philosophy in action. He had an introverted personality.
Yeah.
Jefferson avoided confrontation when when possible. He preferred writing over speaking, which we learned that a minute ago. His quiet demeanor masked strong conviction. You think if you met Thomas Jefferson, do you see him as like a shy type of person, or do you think that he's just like didn't like all the? You think he's like secretly telling the paper to do this because he didn't because it says that he didn't want any confrontation.
I think that he would be one of those people that, you know, right off the bat you'd be like, oh, that guy's. I mean, what's he doing? But then you got a chance to kind of really hear the depths of them.
Yeah.
And those types of people typically aren't very boasting of themselves. You know,
that makes
outwardly,
sense.
They're going to have a roundabout way for you to
talk shit about you behind your back.
That's right.
All right. He had chronic anxiety about his legacy, which I think that we probably all do.
I was just say, I know I do.
Yeah. It's like, I think about, if I died tomorrow, what could I say that I did?
Well, yes,
nothing.
So my sidebar on this is that, you know, he designed what he wanted on his tombstone. Mm-hmm. You know, I've never thought of that, but on his tombstone it reads, the author of the Declaration. I'm going to learn how to say that, of Independence, author of the Statue of Virginia, religious freedom, and the father of the University of Virginia.
Yeah.
So.
He didn't even put.
Okay, I'm pretty proud of myself.
Yeah.
He also made the tombstone out of a coarse stone so it could deter vandalism. So he knows what he wants to write. He also knows what type of stone to use so people can't go over and vandalize it.
That's pretty crazy. I
pretty proud of himself.
Yeah, I would have never even thought of any of that.
No.
But it is interesting to think that this should inspire us to like talking about him tinkering and building things and, you know, having the mind that he has and tracking things. He's just a thinker.
Yeah.
A tinkerer and a thinker.
Yeah. Right brain and left brain.
And here I am, like, I don't do any of that. What, I mean, even all jokes aside, it's like, yes, I know that I can be proud of my kids. Same with you. You raised them.
Yeah.
We've got great kids and all that kind of stuff. But that is personally.
Yeah.
Professionally, what is our legacy? Like what, you know, like people that invent things and like, oh, you know, that's the guy that invented a soup can.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, I don't have any of that. And that gives me anxiety because I want to leave some kind of legacy.
Right. I mean, what would I put on my tombstone? He was a nice guy. People would probably laugh at that. Funny.
Yeah.
I was like, no, he's kind of an asshole at time, but you know, I for us, and that's again how this world works. Mm-hmm. If everybody was the same type of person, it would be an awful place to live. So we need people in leadership positions. We need people like you and I who do what we do. You know, we want our legacy that our kids were good people. We lived a good life. We were fair. We were honest.
I think I've said this several times on this podcast that like I'm the type of person that I do not want to be stagnant. You know, if I'm in a position where I'm talking professionally, like I always want to do better. Like we talked about with expanding the country, I always want to move up and, you know, build my life professionally. Where I lack is building my life personally.
Yep.
And so,
well, yes,
because the thing is we are building someone else's life.
That's right. Thank you.
And I want to build my own life.
Yeah.
And so that's the anxiety and the struggle. That's right. Have.
And it's a different world. And maybe once, you know, all of our kids are out and living on their own lives and such, we can practice that. But
yeah, you
mentioned it. Your why is your family, and that's where your focus is right now.
Yeah. All right. So TJ had a passion for, on top of everything else.
Yeah.
He had a passion for music and violin, and Jefferson was an accomplished violinist.
Yep. Practiced daily for years, and he used this music to court his wife.
Oh, really?
How about that? So he can write, he can farm, he can have slaves, and he can play music.
Do you think that he snuck into Sally's little cabin and with his violin and started playing her a tune. He was serenading her.
Sally, come over here.
He's like, Sally, this is the song that I played for my wife that won her over.
Yeah. And it not only violins, it was multiple types of violins too. I mean, when I was doing a little research on there, I didn't want to write them all down, but there was a list of different types of violins.
Oh, really?
Yeah, French violins, and it was really interesting. Really interesting. I guess when he was, overseas, he was taught it, but I mean, probably self-taught, which you can do.
Yeah.
But I'm probably from practicing it, daily. But it was another layer of this individual.
Yeah. It says that he's complicated fatherhood.
Yeah.
I actually put this in here, but it's not coming up on my notes, but I think he had 6 children.
Correct.
And only 2 of them survived.
4 of his 6 children died. Mary and Martha lived.
Yeah.
3 of them were a one unnamed son and 3 daughters passed away in infancy or early childhood.
But think about that. So the 2 children that survived into adulthood were women. So the name was not carried on.
Correct.
And so
Very
that's
correct.
What about John Adams? No, he had John Quincy Adams.
That's right.
So there's that.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's interesting that there's no Jefferson to carry on.
No.
All right. He died, as we discussed, July 4th, 1826, which we talked about this with John Adams because John Adams died the same day, and he actually died hours before John Adams, which if you guys remember from the last episode, John Adams was, damn you, Thomas Jefferson, but John Adams actually beat him.
That's right. Interesting again, he was 83. Wrote it when he was 33, died 50 years later. So that's 83.
Yeah.
So Adams died when he was 90.
Yeah.
And which is not heard of at that time.
Yeah.
And Thomas Jefferson died at 83, which is pretty darn old.
It's so fun.
Even in today's world.
It's so weird. The person that wrote the Declaration of Independence died the day 50 years later.
Yeah.
How did I not know that?
I didn't know that. And like we said in the last podcast, it'll be really interesting this summer when we celebrate 250 if these names are brought up.
Yeah. He was buried at at Monticello.
Yep.
Jefferson designed his own tombstone, like Mike just talked about there.
Yep. Monticello is in Charlottesville, Virginia, which is, where the University of Virginia. So if you're going out that way, I think you'll end up seeing it this summer.
I think the last thing here is probably a good thing to sum him up. Well, I don't want to say to sum him up, but he was a walking contradiction.
Yeah.
Jefferson represented Enlightenment optimism and American hypocrisy simultaneously.
Yeah.
So
You said at the beginning, I mean, I think it's a great way to sum it up because you said at the beginning he was a man of many layers and do as I say, not as I do.
Yeah.
And it's a perfect way to kind of progress into number 4.
Yeah. Do you know who number 4 is?
No idea.
I don't know either. James Madison, maybe?
Possibly.
George Washington, John Adams, Thomas Jefferson. No, it's not James Madison. You know what? Almost kind of
spoiler.
We
weren't supposed to even say.
We kind of sounded smart through it.
Spoiler.
But that was all ruined.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think Thomas Jefferson was a really good one.
Of the first 3, we've learned a lot. As growing up, we learned a lot about George Washington, and we probably learned a lot about Thomas Jefferson.
Yeah.
So we're seeing, which again, like I think I said at the beginning of the podcast, it's exciting because we're now seeing the country take shape.
Yeah. 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 Exactly.
And the next president we discuss will probably be fascinating to see how it correlates to the world today.
I think the next one's Ronald Reagan, isn't it?
Ronnie Reagan.
It's been fun to do this. Glad we're on number 3. Looking forward to getting to number 4.
I can't wait to meet Thomas Jefferson at the office.
I was going to say, I think he may or may not show up.
Yeah.
And we could probably snap a picture with him.
I hope he does. I hope he comes to the office and visits us. Yeah. It's been nice meeting George Washington and John Adams, so I'm assuming.
All right. We out. See y'all.
Bye now.
See y'all.
next time.